Venus flytrap. Right at the beginning of Saw 2, we're introduced to a trap that seems simple, until you notice the detail that makes survival almost impossible. A man wakes up with an iron mask locked around his neck. Inside the mask are several spikes ready to pierce his face, and he has just 60 seconds to escape this horrible fate. There's only one way out. A key implanted behind his left eye.
Give you a hint as to where I've hidden the key, so listen carefully. The hint.
If he wants to get free, he has to remove the key himself before the trap shuts. And well, you can imagine what happens. Sounds simple, but in practice, it's impossible. A surgeon even analyzed this trap and explained why no one could make it out alive. It's not just about pain, it's physically unfeasible. The human brain takes 10 to 15 seconds just to process what's going on. And by the time your survival instinct kicks in, a good chunk of your time is already gone. But that's not even the worst part. The key is hidden in an extremely sensitive part of the face. Trying to remove it would mean cutting into the eyeball and messing with important blood vessels. One wrong cut and the victim would pass out within seconds before even finishing the procedure. And even if someone had steady hands and surgical precision, the process would take at least 45 seconds. Now think about it. They'd still have to unlock the mechanism, which takes even more time. So no matter how much it looked like a test, this trap was never designed to actually give anyone a chance. The Silent Circle. The last trap already sounded insane. This one somehow manages to be worse. In this one, you wake up with metal rods connected directly to your vocal cords. The rule is simple and brutal. Make any sound louder than a whisper, and the rods will rip out your throat.
The decibel level in this room rises above a whisper, killing her even sooner. We'll neither live or die, Bobby. The choice is yours.
Okay, so how do you escape this? Jigsaw put a key inside this woman's stomach, and to get out, Bobby has to take that key out and disable the device. But he only has 1 minute, and like Jigsaw explained, every time the noise level in the room hits the limit, the device gets closer to Naomi's neck. And let's be real, it's impossible not to scream in a situation like this. It's not just the key being pulled. There's a hook too, which means more pain and more screams. And well, you can probably guess what happens in the end. He actually manages to get the key out, but there's no time left to stop the device.
I can't move, Bobby!
The bathroom. Right in the first movie of the franchise, we see one of the most iconic and cruel traps in the whole series. Adam and Dr. Lawrence Gordon wake up chained by their ankles inside a filthy, run-down bathroom. If you've seen this movie, you know this scene is unforgettable. Throughout the whole story, they go through a series of trials trying to figure out what's happening and how to get out alive. But in the end, one revelation changes everything. The key that could have freed Adam was inside the bathtub drain where he woke up at the start of the movie. When he panicked and stood up, he unknowingly pulled the drain plug, and the key went straight down the pipe. So, from the very beginning, he never had a chance to escape. To this day, fans still debate why Jigsaw even left that key there. And to make it worse, Dr. Gordon gets a cruel task. He has to kill Adam within 6 hours, or he'll never see his family again. As for Adam, he doesn't get the same choice. His only goal is to survive. He has no control over his own fate in this game. His life depends entirely on Lawrence's decision. And as Jigsaw himself says, "Today you will watch yourself die, Adam, or do something about it." The unforgiving Pendulum. In Saw V, we're introduced to a bizarre and unfair trap right from the start. This time, the victim is Seth Baxter, convicted of murder. He wakes up strapped to a metal table, arms stretched out and a sharp blade swinging above, getting closer and faster with each swing. The instructions are simple, at least in theory. Crush your hands using a pressing device and you'll be set free.
Okay.
Seth, even in total panic, does exactly what the game asks. He puts his hands into the device and goes through with it. Despite the pain, he manages to complete the task before time runs out. But it doesn't matter. The pendulum doesn't stop. And here comes the most absurd part. This trap was never meant to be survivable. Physics experts explain that a heavy blade like that gains enough speed to cut through reinforced metal. Even if the mechanism was shut off, the blade would keep moving from pure inertia. To make it worse, this trap wasn't even made by the original Jigsaw. Later in the movie, we find out Hoffman was the one behind it. using John Kramer's methods to cover up his own revenge. The classroom trap. In Saw 3, we see Troy waking up in what looks like an abandoned classroom, with 10 hooks pierced into different parts of his body: chest, arms, legs, and even his jaw. The goal? Pull out all the hooks, or a bomb explodes. It might sound simple, even doable if you've got the guts, but it's not. Troy, completely desperate, starts pulling them out one by one, enduring unbearable pain. But when he finally finishes, the bomb goes off. The most twisted detail? He never had a chance to survive. Later, it's revealed that Hoffman welded the door shut, making it impossible for him to escape. 10 Pints of Sacrifice. In Saw 5, 5 people wake up trapped in a dark place, forced to face a series of traps that punish not only their sins, but their failure to work as a team. The final trap is, without a doubt, the most brutal: the 10-pint blood sacrifice room. The last 2 survivors, Malik and Britt, are given one last instruction. Together, they have to donate 10 pints of blood, nearly 5 liters, for the door to open. How? By placing their arms into slots with electric saws that start cutting deeper as the blood flows into collection containers. The pain is insane. Every second, the saw digs deeper, leaving huge cuts in both of their arms. But then comes the moment that changes everything.
Tubes are large enough for more than one person. We were supposed to work together, so we all survived. That's the game.
Your lifelong instincts will tell you to do one thing, but I implore you to do the opposite.
If all 5 of them had made it to this point, each person would have only needed to donate 2 pints of blood, a smaller sacrifice, but shared among them all. Instead, they spent the whole game sabotaging each other and ended up here alone. Now, they have to pay the price for 5 people. It's a brutal scene to watch. The game was never about strength. It was about teamwork, and they failed from the very beginning. Knife chair. This is without a doubt one of the most agonizing traps in the entire franchise. We're talking about the knife chair, which appears in Saw 4. Even though that movie is considered by many to be one of the slowest and least exciting in the series, this trap definitely stood out. It shows up in a flashback, actually a flashback inside another flashback. Yeah, real crazy stuff. Here we meet Cecil, a guy who had an extremely negative impact not only on John Kramer's life, but also on the lives of several others. And, well, John did what he does best: put the guy into a game. This trap perfectly shows how sometimes the smaller traps can be the hardest to survive. Cecil is completely immobilized. Any wrong move, and he dies. He's strapped to a chair with sharp blades under his arms, which are tied down tightly to the armrests. The only way out? He has to shove his own face into a box full of knives and push forward until he hits a lever at the back of the box. Only then will he be released. As unbelievable as it sounds, Cecil manages to escape. He survives the trap, but in his panic, he takes off running and falls straight into a tub full of barbed wire and razors. And that's where his story really ends. Wisdom teeth. This one's from one of the final traps in Saw 3D, and it's part of the main game that Bobby Dagan has to face. For those who don't remember, Bobby is the guy who got famous claiming he survived a jigsaw trap. But it was all a lie. And, well, John Kramer does not like liars, so Bobby ends up in a real game. After going through a few tests, he enters a room where he needs to open a door. But there's a catch. This door only opens with a 4-digit code. Then comes the twist. The code is in his teeth. But not just any teeth, his wisdom teeth. The ones way in the back of your mouth that people already hate pulling out even at the dentist. The only tool available? A pair of pliers. If he doesn't pull out his own teeth, his wife will pay the price. This is easily one of the few traps in the franchise where even the audience thinks, dude, there's just no way out of this. The only possible idea would be to yank out one tooth, figure out the first 2 digits, and then try every possible combo manually, like spinning the lock and hoping for the best. But let's be real, even pulling one tooth would already be absolute hell. And as if that wasn't enough, the sound design in this scene is made to send chills down your spine from beginning to end. The bedroom trap. If you thought pulling teeth was rough, then you haven't seen this one yet. The bedroom trap, which shows up in Saw 4, is one of the weirdest and yet most cleverly designed traps in the whole franchise. What's even more interesting is that this time, it's not Jigsaw who puts someone in the trap, it's Detective Rig. Instead of sticking to the good guy role he usually played, Rig ends up forcing Ivan, one of the most disgusting characters in the saga, into this bizarre game. Ivan wakes up strapped to a mechanical bed. His head is clamped in place by a massive vise, while his arms and legs are tied down to metal supports connected to hydraulic pistons.
Or your body.
The challenge: he has only a few seconds to press 2 buttons, one on each side of the bed. If he manages to do that, 2 spikes will stab into his eyes, blinding him, but letting him live. But if he doesn't do it in time, the mechanism will tear all his limbs off. The problem? He's strapped down so tightly, so completely immobilized that there's not much he can do besides make a horrible choice. And of course, Ivan picks the path Jigsaw laid out for him, but before he can stab his second eye, time runs out. Ivan no doubt has one of the most brutal deaths in the entire saga. The Razer Box. If you think the Saw series only deals with physical pain, you're dead wrong. This trap is pure psychological horror. Let's start with the infamous Razer Box from Saw 2. Jigsaw knew exactly what he was doing. The setup is simple but cruel. As soon as the person puts their hands inside, a locking system activates, trapping their arms. The problem? The razors are angled like barbed wire. If you try to pull your arms back, they cut in even deeper. And the most twisted detail? You will try to pull them back. It's basic survival instinct. Like pulling your hand away from a hot stove. Your brain does it automatically before you even think. And the more you fight it, the more you suffer. But if this trap uses instinct against you, the next one takes it even further, feeding off something even worse. Pure fear. Ice block trap. If there's one trap that's pure psychological torture, it's this one. In Saw IV, Detective Eric Matthews is about to face the cruelest game of his life. He's standing on 2 blocks of ice with a noose tied tightly around his neck and connected to a nasty-looking device on the ceiling. Across the room, Mark Hoffman appears to be strapped to an electric chair, and between them, 2 massive ice blocks hang from chains, swinging slowly. The game is simple, at least the rules are. If the timer hits 0, or if Detective Daniel Rigg enters the room before the time is up, the ice blocks will fall. But they don't fall on anyone's head. They fall onto the side mechanisms holding up the hanging cables. When that happens, the cables snap, and the result is quick and deadly. The noose tightens, and Eric is hanged on the spot. At the same time, the electric chair activates, supposedly killing Hoffman. But as we find out later, Hoffman was never in danger. It was all an act. The real test was for Rigg. He needed to learn that not everyone can be saved, that sometimes forcing someone to be rescued only speeds up their death. But Rigg, driven by duty and obsessed with saving everyone, doesn't understand in time. He breaks down the door and unknowingly triggers Eric's death sentence. A trap that doesn't just destroy bodies, but mentally destroys anyone who watches it. In the end, we saw that some traps were never meant to be won. It doesn't matter how strong, smart, or fast you are. In these games, there's no way out. But now tell me, is there any trap you think someone could have escaped from? There's another video from the channel on the screen. I'll see you there.